Hello again, welcome back. This time I'm going to talk about Two in the Wave. This is a documentary that's about the friendship between Francis Truffaut and Jean-Luc Godard and how it fell apart, and the details of the friendship and the details of why it went south. And it's a pretty good documentary. It's not a great one, stylistically it's pretty obvious. It's lots of talking heads, it's lots of details. You do get a feeling there's more to it than what you get, but you get a good summing up of the situation. But obviously there's more details I don't think you could find that a good book would illuminate more. But it's a good entry point to what had happened between these two people. So it's a good start. I mean, it's just not a world-class documentary, but it's a good start to the subject. Basically, Truffaaut and Godard were both like critics in Canadian cinema from the early 50s. So this was when Andre Bazin created this magazine, talked about cinema, and he was an influential critic, and this was the start of the auteur theory and how directors shaped their work, shaped cinema, and how it was important to look at them as if they were actually authors of like novels rather than just craftsmen, which is an important jump in film criticism. It ignores the industrial side of film that makes it a bit unbalanced as a theory, but then again it's also a theory that gets trashed a little bit too much because there is a real validity to it, as like directors are the people who shape the films, and a really good director who has power and who's well power over his environment will shape the film and will connect with other films he's made. It's just that it ignores a little bit too much the industrial side of the situation. So it's like half truth. Half is right, now half's a bit weird. But it's probably more tied to European cinema than it would be to American cinema. Or lower budgets. I mean, in a bigger budget, this probably doesn't apply so much, but in a kind of medium to low budget area where the director has more power, the auteur theory does have some validity. It's just that a lot of time nowadays they try and put auteur theory to directors who are not interested enough to really deserve that kind of treatment, you know. There's a lot of directors nowadays who do make vague films who you can't really use the auteur theory on, because like, what do you really have to say about them? They're just blah directors. But for good interest directors, the auteur theory has its place. It's just that it needs to be placed within other theories too. So they began this. They also used it to promote themselves, promote the idea of directors as God, because they wanted to be directors. So there's some self-promotion, hucksterism as well there, you know, which makes the theory better because it was a bit selfish. So these two guys, there was also like Claude Chabrol, Eric Romer, all these other directors, Jacques Rivette, a lot of other directors who were coming out of that too, who Jacques Demy, there was a lot of directors who came out of criticism who were keen to start directing, and it did various levels of success over the years. But the two big ones, two early ones, was Truffaaut and Godard. Truffaaut came from a poor background. He spent some time in jail. He was a troubled youth, and he'd really interacted with the world and found it very difficult, but he found salvation in cinema. Godard came from a more like middle class background. His parents had some money. You could say he was maybe a bit spoiled, and he might not entirely have a realistic view of the world, is one way to put it. He was middle class, and that's what this film kind of suggests, that he was the middle class one and Godard and Truffaut was the more working class one. But they got on, they became friends pretty quickly because they were like the same films, they were going to cinema all the time, they saw each other there. They quickly became friends and they helped each other out. They both started writing Cahiers du Cinema. Then they both started making films at the same time, like short films. Truffauts was the first one to get the break into cinema with a long film. It was 300 Blows, and for some reason I've just lost the title. I'm sure it's either 300 or 600 Blows. It's just went blank in my head. So that was the start of our series of films, the Antoine Doline series. I probably mispronounced that as well. It's been a long week. It's only Monday. So Truffaut got started first, but when he got success, he helped Godard out and vouched for him as a writer and gave him an idea for his first film, Breathless. Even though Godard went did his own thing and ignored half of what Truffaut wrote, Truffaut vouched for him and helped him get a start, which was a very nice thing to do. He didn't need to do that. And they helped each other after that as well. I mean, Truffaut produced one or two other films for Godard, the 60s. They were still very friendly. They were going down different paths and very supportive of each other during the down times, because Shoot the Pianist, Truffaut's follow-up, was a massive flop. Godard's second film was a massive flop. They both crashed and burned pretty quick. But they recovered and started having a good solid career. I mean, the funny thing was, earlier on, Truffaut was a big critic and Godard was lesser. I mean, Truffaut was the one who'd been banned from Cannes as a critic. Then he went there the next year with his film and won the main prize. That's a bit of a show-off thing to do. But, I mean, Truffaut was a star and Godard was a guy stuck in the office who wasn't a star. But despite that, they helped each other out. But then as the time went on, you know, the political differences emerged, especially in the 60s, and how involved do you get? They were both involved when Henry Lagoulis was fired from the head guy in French cinema, the main area of preservation. He had fired. Truffaut and Godard came out and protected him and made sure he got his job back. But after that, that's when the differences became obvious, because Truffaut did not believe that you should be overtly political in your films. Like, it was there for people to find, but to be overt for him was not the way. And Godard was like, you had to be overtly political or you're a coward and all the rest of it. He was very Marxist, and he was as Marxist as only a middle class boy could be. And Truffaut, because he'd grown up from a much tougher life, I think he knew where the line was, where just don't go beyond this year, this is not a good idea to go beyond that. And Godard had a fit. According to this film, Godard had a fit about all this stuff. How much of this is true, I don't know. I mean, the film hasn't been sued or anything. But it comes across as Godard as a dick in the film. That's what it comes across as. And Truffaut behaved decently. Now, I haven't read any books about this, but I'm just talking about the film, and that's how it comes across. There's also Lalonde, who was the lead actor in a lot of the early Truffaut films, but he also worked for Godard, and he was like the guy stuck between them. Godard challenged him more. Truffaut was more kinder to him, more appreciative of his skills. So there were two different things which he liked both, but he stood in the middle and he had to go with one or the other because they weren't going to see eye to eye. So it was kind of tragedy for him because he lost Godard as an employer and a friend basically, because he ended up, because Godard turned on him for being in a Truffaut film that he didn't like. So there's all these weird egomaniac things coming from Godard in this, shown in this film that is, it does not paint him in a good light. That's the problem with the film, I think, is it's unsympathetic to Godard in lots of ways that are, you can be critical of his actions, but they never get the idea of why he was doing it. It just makes him look like he was a middle class guy who really was rebelling a bit too much. And if you look at Godard's films, they're more complicated than that. And that's what's the problem with this film, is it doesn't get Godard, it doesn't even get Truffauts right either. Truffauts feels more complicated and thorny. But in the film, he's almost like an angel compared to Godard. Like, Godard's the baddie and he's a goodie, and it's like, life's not like that. There's definitely stuff that Godard did that's shown in this film that isn't very good. It's pretty horrible. But in real life, it tends to be more complicated in this film. And that's the big problem with the film. Is it shows you a lot of information that makes you want to read about the information, read about all that situation, but get both points of view about it. Because I want to know what Godard actually had stated about the situation, because what it shows, it just makes him look like a dick, and it makes him look almost cartoonish in a way that doesn't vibe with what you see in the films. What you see in the films is someone who can be pricklyish and difficult, but has a point of view. And this film doesn't come across that way, it just comes across as pretty horrible. And it's unsatisfying, and again, Truffauts doesn't come across complicated either. He comes across as a very nice guy, but how much of that is true and how much of that is just because maybe the director liked Truffauts a lot more than Godard? I don't know. But that's the unsatisfying part of the film, is you feel that it never went into the depths it should have. It was covering fact after fact, and it was showing you the effects of different people on each other, but it didn't seem to get the people it was talking about as clearly as it thought it did, and that's where the film kind of falls down. Is like, you don't get the full complexity of a person in this film. You get a feeling of this is history, but it's not the full history. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. It's one of those films I probably wouldn't have covered if I wasn't treated on a light week, because I just unsure. But I think it's still worth talking about, because I don't think it's talked about very much. Well, I'll be back tomorrow with one final video of the week, and I'll see you then.